Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to share with you something that took me years, 3 years to open up about. How we lost $1.2 million as a family. My wife lost her job, and how this impacted my faith and deepening relationship with Christ. Some days I didn't know if we were going to go bankrupt or if we had to sell everything and start over. If you're new to my channel, welcome here. I'm Matt Chenard, business and leadership coach, consultant, helping entrepreneurs become time wealthy, growing their business, scaling their business without sacrificing the important parts of their life. See you there.
So we were just driving on the road for the last 4 hours, and we talked about something that I find endlessly interesting. You have one of the most devastating business stories. Maybe you can revisit that and expand a little bit about it.
So March 15th, 2020, we were in Canmore for a staff retreat. We had just had the best month ever in our gym in the past. I think that we were 9 years as a gym at that time. And we were just celebrating. We were here staff. We were planning out the new year coming up for 2021. And that's when all the pandemic stuff started to happen. And I remember watching the news as a team and being like, what is this? Like, well, what is this happening on TV? We're not worried about it. And I started hearing more and more and more. And the next day, or 2 days later, the Monday, I messaged Gates and Tom, who are two coaches in my gym. And I said, I think we need to start preparing for this. I'm seeing everywhere else in the world, these gyms are closing down, they're being forced to close. It should only be 2 weeks, but let's prepare for the worst. So we put zombie apocalypse and the joking kind of writing on the whiteboard, but we actually pre-planned all of these things. Let's fast forward 4 years or 3 years. In total, we closed. We couldn't use our gym facility that we're paying rent on, expenses on for 7 months total. We opened and closed 5 times. So if anyone's an entrepreneur, they know the difficulty of opening once, starting your business once. It was tiring. It was very, very tiring. And it almost made it worse that it was like we're promised 2 weeks. Hey, 2 more weeks, flatten the curve. 2 more weeks, flatten the curve, and you'll be able to open. And then this whole time I'm thinking, to help people prevent this, we should be essential service to help people become fitter and healthier and mentally be around each other. But we weren't deemed an essential service, so we kept having to fight against that and follow all the rules, but still, even by following the rules, opening and closing 5 times, and not being able to use our gym that we're paying rent on for 7 months. Whiplash. Jaleesa is getting tired. She lost her job during this time. She's a 9-year-long nurse, lost her job. We lost that income. We're paying all these expenses. And again, for the business owners out there, they'll know that just because there's subsidies or just because you can't run your business doesn't mean the expenses go away. So you build your business to a certain amount, but you have overhead and staff costs to get there. So what happens when you take almost all your ability to make money away? We adapted, we did a bunch of great things. I'm very grateful, God's grace and all, and provision and all. But still, in total, I did the math, and this was hard to do the math. It took me a couple years, 4 years, and I guess, 4 years ago. I want to know what the math is. So lost revenue, debt, loans taken on, Jaleesa's inability to work, her lost revenue that way, her lost income, and then missing life savings. I did the tally, it was like 1.2 million, around that range.
Say that again?
Yeah, so 1.2 million is roughly the number, give or take.
When you kind of totaled that up for the first time and saw it and felt it, what was that? What even goes through your head when you're like, we got hit by a 7-digit deficit?
A few things went through my head. One is a realization is just numbers, right? It's numbers on a paper that, unless it's attached to something, there's actually no intrinsic value to that, right? So that number to me signified our inability to run a business and almost feeling robbed of, Jaleesa feeling robbed of a job that she couldn't do, and she spent 5 years and then 9 years working there, 5 years educating, 9 years working there. And I also forgot to add that we lost the ability for maternity leave. So we welcomed our baby girl a year ago. So that contributed to that as well.
It's the perfect storm.
Yeah. But leading up to this, I was so growth oriented or focused. Like the outcome I wanted was this big, what I was going to call blue zone in Camrose, Alberta. It was going to be a place to have a coffee shop, a big gym, maybe some hormonal stuff for people, some biohacking, whatever you want to call it, a wellness center, sauna, cold plunge. And then this all just got shattered. And we are just more focusing on how to make it the next month after a while. And do we close everything down? Do we sell everything? Is this even worth it? And then realizing that business isn't just about the outcome, the number, that loss. It's what am I actually trying to do with this business? The purpose is to help people become healthier and fit. And to get more out of life now and to live longer and have more resilient, long living lives with their families and be able to enjoy God's great creation. And once I remembered that we're there for a purpose, it made it a lot easier, a greater purpose is our gym, it made it a lot easier to take one more step, to take it one more day, to try to make it one more day. And if we did everything we possibly could and went bankrupt or we lost everything, then we could say, hey, we tried. But having that purpose attached to it was really fun.
I have to ask, because I know you, and your natural mat ways is to be a rock, and you're even more of a solid rock for Jaleesa and the family and stuff. But like, was there behind the scenes or internal moments where your armor wasn't so shiny and you were like, this is code red right now? Yeah. What was that internal conversation like behind the scenes?
So leading up to the pandemic, I took some leadership courses, and we do something called red arrow behaviors. So pinpointing, what are your red arrow behaviors as a leader? So where do you navigate to under stress in a negative way? Mine is being overly optimistic and not actually voicing my struggles and being overly positive. So that was something that I had to let go of during this time and saying, hey, I'm scared. Like, I'm not sleeping during the night. I'm saying, if we can't open, we're going to lose everything. Like, we're going to have to, I don't even know what that looks like. I don't even know what bankruptcy looks like. What's the process of doing that? I'm a business and leadership coach. Mm-hmm. What does that look like if I couldn't make a business work? Is that going to ruin everything for us? So that's scary. And just learning how to open up to Jaleesa and people in mastermind groups, mentors, coaches, and being like, hey, this is scary. I don't know what to do, was really helpful to me. And almost, you said taking the armor off, but then realizing that everything we have here, like, it's all good. Like, we're in a beautiful place right now, beautiful creation. Money is not bad if you use it for good, but it could be gone tomorrow, right? So as soon as I put my hope, security, trust in these finite things, when I should be putting them in God, my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and saying that that's the only true place I can find hope, security, and trust. Yep. That doesn't mean I can't build things. That doesn't mean I can't enjoy things. I can't find joy or excitement in building things, or I can't have money, or I can't have a big building one day. But to have this realization that mentally I would tell myself, I don't want to place my identity in these things, but to actually literally go through this process that I have to open up my hand and say, I don't, because I like to think I can problem solve really well. And I did that for a long time. But eventually it was just, sometimes in life, no matter how hard I try, I can't problem solve this. And I have to give it up to God and say, hey, Lord, whatever is your will with this, let it be done. And let me steward my time, money, and energy well. And let me steward my relationships well. Let me steward this story well down the road, right, to hopefully help other people. And I knew, and that's actually so I sat where I'm sitting now in my head, not in this physical location, but saying that, okay, once we make it through this, I am going to use this story to help other entrepreneurs, to help other people, to say, like, there's meaning and purpose in this journey. like we're still not out of it. We have a lot of debt to pay off. We're still building back the business. Like we're not out of it by any means. But I thought in that moment, there's a purpose to this, and I'm gonna be able to share this story. And there's Viktor Frankl. He wrote the book Man's Search for Meaning, and he talked about that, right? He was in these World War II, I think it was, these prison camps, but basically finding purpose in everything, like no matter how hard. And I think during the process of all these lockdowns, we started to have to put our hope in being able to open up again, instead of saying, okay, there is a purpose in this. I might not know it today, tomorrow, or in my lifetime, but I'm going to walk and steward this as best I can, knowing that God is good and he's going to use it for his glory.
And on that point, I feel like this conversation can go 100 different directions, and it's a much bigger conversation, but I've heard you say hope and faith a couple of times. Where does faith fit in a conversation where someone loses $1.2 million and all the weight of the world is compounding up? Where does faith fit into all of that, for you at least?
I think it was a moment where I had to look in the mirror and say, where was I putting my faith and hope? I would verbally say Jesus. I would verbally say in my relationship with Jesus. But like I was kind of saying before, when you're put in this situation, do I actually live that out in practice? Like, am I saying that, hey, tomorrow I don't know how we're going to have enough money to run the gym anymore? Am I actually walking in stewardship and saying that if this gym closes down, I am going to still be okay, right? Because everything worldly is, in Ecclesiastes, there's a word called hevel, like vapor. It can vanish. So it took me this process to actually realize what that means. I'm still far from fully understanding that, but I think I had, not fully, but I put my identity and purpose and significance and security and hope and faith in more worldly things, and still having a relationship with Christ, but not to the extent I have now. And so through that process, I would say, yeah, we lost 1.2 million, but I've gained so much more mental resiliency, knowledge, skill set, and just a deeper relationship with my wife, Jaleesa, and with Jesus.
Okay, I have two questions at this point. This is probably a bigger conversation, but as a result of expressing your faith with your business and stuff, has there ever been repercussions or any dramatic change in your business because of your vocalness with your faith?
So not necessarily in our gym. So in our gym, we have a prayer board. So we don't hide away our faith in the gym. Everyone knows we're Christians there, I'm pretty sure. We pray before meals. We have get-togethers and stuff. We don't stand up front and preach a sermon. It would be been more costly to me in my personal brand. So I have a bigger personal brand on Instagram, like 42,000 or 43,000, whatever it is. And I've always had Christ follower at the top of my profile. Like I've never taken it down, never going to take it down. But over the past couple months, I've been sharing more about my faith, and I've been losing followers because of that. And that's the other part too, is I don't want to hide away and shield the most important. What I say verbally with my mouth is the most important part of me. I need to actually step in faith in this and say that, hey, I'm going to share this because I know this is the most important thing for me as steward, and to share this message. And if people want to hear it, they'll hear it. If they don't want to hear it, they can unfollow me. But I'm not going to hide it away in hopes that it makes me more money. Because it is better to lose everything and stay true to who you are in character and your beliefs and core values than it is to gain one thing at the sacrifice of another.
Wow.
And that's kind of this, I guess you call it mantra, I've had in my head. It's like, okay, I know this could cost me. I know this could cost this, but what is the cost of, I believe that Jesus died for us and I want people to go to heaven. What's the cost of me shielding this for some monetary gain? Is it really worth it? No, it's not when you put it in that perspective, because gods of this world, whether it's money, whether it's beauty, whether it's power, whether it's influence, could be gone tomorrow, right? So if I put my trust in these small g gods. Who am I when I know we're going to meet some really hard times in the future? I know that the business isn't always going to be amazing. It's going to ebb and flow. So where do I root myself? Where do I plant myself?
This conversation could be so much longer. I think the last part that I would want to revisit a little bit is like on the topic of loss, maybe whether it's financial loss or emotional or spiritual, just feeling that feeling of loss. What would you maybe say to someone that's in the same position or experience the same thing, experience that degree of loss, maybe even in business sense? Is that something you're trying to invite more into your life, those types of conversations? Or how are you using it now? Because it's been like 4 years-ish since the start of the events and stuff.
I'm being more open with it. And I think our struggles, pain, there's purpose in the pain. I know I've heard that plenty of times before. I didn't coin that phrase, but there's purpose in pain and the scars and the struggle. And you think of any good movie, we like talking about stories and stuff. There's pain. There's something that everything's going good, and I'm thinking in the back of my head, there's gonna be something that happens soon. Like it has to make it a good movie, to make it a good show. And that's where you get invited in, and you start to see yourself in that person's character. So if my character resonates with someone, if they're going through hard times, whether it's business, relationship, whatever it is, to find their hope and security in something eternal in Jesus, and that's where your value should be placed. That's where you can set your identity and value and purpose in. And then everything else from there is extra, right? If I have plenty, awesome. I hope, I pray that I can steward it well. If I have little, okay, there's a reason for that. But also in the same time, which can get confusing, is I'm going to pursue excellence in everything I do to the best of my abilities. I'm going to grow successful businesses. That's my goal. I'm going to nurture my body, be in great physical shape, try to have a really joyful, thriving marriage. And there's kind of a contrast to those two things, but almost just having this open hands position and saying, I'm going to paddle the boat, right? I know I should go in that direction, but I still have to work for this.
I think anything from this point on in this conversation should probably save for part 2.
Yes.
Or more. But wow, thank you for sharing that. That is actually, it's hard for me to even fathom. As a business owner too, it's like, it's a big number. It's scary.
Yeah, it's a big number. And to even, like, we're not out of it yet. And I always had in my mind I would share it once we're out of it completely. But then I think that's kind of, not disingenuous, but I want to share from the place that I'm at now, to know that, like, I knew there'd be a ripple effect from that. I knew it'd take years and years and years, and not have that resentment, and to let that go and to forgive and say, okay, I can only do what I can do with what I have right now. Hey everyone, thanks for spending time with me today. We had to cut this video short. We wanted to make a longer one, which I'll be doing more so on this channel because I'm focusing a lot more energy here on my YouTube channel. So let me know in the comments if anything in this video resonated with you. I'd like to create more content that's valuable to you. Thanks for being here.